I didn't buy my Tundra blindly without doing research on the fuel miles per gallon, and I also did it on all the competitors at the time, and I want to take a look at the domestic competitors today and see where that is, because I still check in, and we all know the Tundra has notoriously poor miles per gallon, but let's compare it to what the real economy is of the others that are out there and take a look. First, let's start at looking at my Tundra. I have a 2018 Platinum Tundra four-wheel drive, and I use it to tow quite a bit. I put about 20 to 25,000 miles per year on the vehicle, averaging about 22,000, of which about 5,000 are commuting miles and probably another 5,000 are highway miles, and then about 12,000 to 15,000 per year are towing heavy, towing across country for long periods of time. And so let's take a look at what that means from a miles per gallon standpoint. So what I want to do is begin by taking a look at the miles per gallon that I would get just driving around the city, the miles per gallon I would get driving down the highway, and the miles per gallon that I would get while towing. And then we'll kind of compare those and put those into a formula to see what my real cost and real miles per gallon usage is annually. So let's start by taking a look at the MPGs that I get traveling around town. My commute into work is almost exactly 7.5 miles. I know this because from my driveway to my parking spot at work always reads 7.5 or 7.4 depending on which spot I take at work. So it's exactly 7.5. I've taken some photos and that's shown me to range between 13.5 and about 15.1 miles per gallon. There are exactly 16 traffic lights and 2 stop signs on my way to work. I may hit them somewhat differently, and I think this probably accounts for the change in miles per gallon that we see. So here we can see into work 7.5 miles, always says 7.5 or 7.4, so I assume I'm right on the border there of being exactly 7.5 miles. My total trip time today was 18 minutes, which is about typical. And then as we turn the vehicle off, it'll kind of give us our information here. So there we go, 17.5 miles, 13.6 miles per gallon distance. When I average those 4 days that I've shown for work with 13.6, 13.7, 14.6, and 15.1, my average is 14.25 miles per gallon. I think it's safe for us to use 14 around town as our average. Here's an image I took not quite a year ago when I was driving back from my daughter's home, about 100 miles roughly, as you can see there on the odometer reading, 18.5 miles per gallon. That's traveling on the highway about 65 to 75 miles per hour. There are a few stops and traffic lights on the way, so we can assume that even if I was traveling a little faster on the highway without stops, 18 miles per gallon is going to be a pretty safe number, and that's what we'll go ahead and use for the highway. The next question becomes, well, what about when towing? Well, towing is a variable because we tow different size vehicles with different aerodynamics, but I tow this travel trailer that has a 7,000 pound gross vehicle weight rating and generally tow it fairly full, close to that 7,000 pounds. In other videos, I've shown that I get about 9.5 miles per gallon towing this travel trailer across country. I do get better miles per gallon towing a different travel trailer at closer to about 12 to 13. And similarly, towing my boat, I get about 12 to 13. But for our numbers, we're going to use that 9.5 miles per gallon number. So at a recent fill-up, I took a picture of the prices at the pump. As you can see, unleaded fuel of 87 octane, which is what is recommended for the Toyota Tundra with the 5.7 liter, is $2.80 per gallon. $3.25 for the mid-range fuel, which would be what would be recommended in a Ram Hemi, and $3.60, which is the premium fuel that would be recommended for the GMC 6.2 liter or the Ford EcoBoost or Power Boost. Similarly, I did take a picture of the diesel for taking a look at the GMC 3.0 Duramax since it is so popular, and we can see that is at $3 per gallon. So let's take a look at this data as I've plugged it into an Excel spreadsheet. Now this data as it's set up right here is specific to me. I have almost exactly 80,000 miles on my vehicle. I'm just shy, and I owned it for almost exactly 6 months. I'm just shy. I will hit those numbers at about the same time, which means I put about 23,000 miles per year on my vehicle, roughly 5,000 of that city, 5,000 of that highway, and then about 13,000 towing heavy and towing across country. So if we look at my Tundra, like I've shown, around town, I average 14 miles per gallon. I think I demonstrated that pretty well. I think it's conservative based on the evidence I have to say that I get 18 highway, and then my MPGs towing, I've done a video that shows that I get 9.5 towing a 7,000 pound traffic trailer across country, and I actually do quite a bit better than that, but we're going to use the 9.5 here. So if we look at the second to the last column in bold, we can see that my annual fuel cost in my Tundra would be estimated just at over $5,600. But we can see that's a substantial savings over either the Ford Power Boost or the Ford EcoBoost, which theoretically get better miles and substantially better miles per gallon around town. And we're using their numbers, their actual numbers. Their MPGs when towing are from what I've seen either in videos online or what people have posted online to what they're actually getting with them. And similarly, much better than the GMC 6.2 liter or the Ram Hemi 5.7 liter. There would actually be a theoretical savings in the GMC 3.0 Duramax, but that does come with a slight increase when you add in DEF, although there would still theoretically be a savings. I did seriously look at the GMC 3.0 Duramax when it came out, but I wanted to wait and see how it did, and quite honestly, I have a big concern about the transmission needing to be dropped at 150,000 miles, which I will keep the vehicle that long, and I have a big concern about the problem it's had with the long start issues. So that vehicle for me is a no-go at this point in time. So let's focus on the other gas vehicles with larger engines in terms of or increased power in terms of an apples to apples comparison. When we do an apples to apples comparison, what we see is that the premium fuel and the mid-range fuel significantly offset any savings you might get for me. But let's check it for someone else. Let's say you're somebody who doesn't do any towing at all and you do very low miles and it's 50-50 city and highway. So as we change our annual towing miles to 0 and we leave it at 5,000 city and 5,000 highway, we can see that the cost becomes marginally different in terms of annual fuel cost. The Ford Power Boost theoretically does better than the Tundra at a savings of $278, but the remaining vehicles are only marginally within the range of the Tundra, and none of them actually do better just based on these simple estimates. So what about that new Tundra coming out, you might be wondering? Well, we know that Toyota is claiming it's going to have significantly more power and torque than the current generation, and I believe that it will. What we also are led to believe that it will be a 3.5 twin turbo V6 that is currently in the Lexus LS. Well, what do we know about that engine so far? We know it requires premium fuel. That's the first thing we know. We also have been given good indication that the engine may be mated to a hybrid in the Tundra. Well, what does that tell us? Well, Ford essentially already has a version of that. And while Toyota may be able to eke out some slightly better numbers than Ford is, they're not going to just blow Ford away with this combination. Their numbers are going to be similar, and the problem is the premium fuel combined with the decreased miles per gallon when towing are going to make this not a net gain of significance if you don't tow, and if you do tow, it's probably going to be significantly problematic in terms of its overall cost. Now, the specs on that vehicle should be releasing any day now, as this is August 28th, 2021 when I'm recording this, and I expect sometime in the next month the specs will be out on the new Tundra, and I'm anxious to see them. And if they are something very impressive and something that I can anticipate will do well towing, you may see me driving one by the end of the year when they're out. Otherwise, it's going to be hard for me to give up this 2018 with what its current capabilities are. I hope you found this useful if you were considering a Toyota Tundra, or if you wanted some more information about the Tundra versus other vehicles, or versus the new 2022 Tundra that's coming out. If you did, please feel free to comment at the bottom. Feel free to hit like and subscribe. It helps give me more information on what other types of reviews people would like to see.